Hey everybody, just wanted to get a quick video about how to row reduce a matrix in RStudio. So this next homework is going to have you row reducing a lot of different matrices, and you can do them by hand, but it's a really big pain. However, we don't really talk about it in class until Wednesday, which leaves a pretty tight turnaround on that first homework. So I really wanted to get this in front of you to at least see, how do I do this really essential task right away so that you can start working as soon as you can. So you will see that my goal is in the upper left here. I have a pretty big augmented matrix that I would like to row reduce so that I can tell you some stuff about its solution spaces, or if it has any solutions, things like that, like we've been talking about in class. So what I would like to do is not do that by hand because it looks pretty miserable. So we're going to ask RStudio to do it for us. When you first log into RStudio, you'll probably see a window like this. Your bottom right-hand panel might be a little bit different, and you might have some text here, totally fine. Basically, should look kind of like a blank slate like this. For the first time out in RStudio, we're going to have to do a couple of things to get us ready to do our task of row reducing this matrix. So I would say three important things to start. First thing we'll do is go up to this top little new document button, and we're going to make a new document. I'm going to pick our markdown, exactly how we also put in our homework. And it's going to give me this little splash panel that says, what would you like to know about it? We don't have to worry about any of this. I'm going to title this RREF because it's exactly what I'm doing here is RREF. And I say, great, here is my particular document. RStudio auto-populates it with a lot of different stuff. A little bit of text about how it works and knitting and plots and all that stuff. I don't want any of this. I have a single goal, which is to row reduce that top matrix. So I'm going to delete all of that text. The next thing we're going to do is build ourselves a coding space. So our Markdown has kind of two great top things it can do, which the first one is actually type out notes for yourself. And the second one is actually do computations. So again, my goal is to row reduce this matrix. All I want to do is that. So I'm going to build myself a coding space. RStudio calls these chunks. We will always, always, always use this first chunk. I click that green button, I click the R, and here I have this code chunk. You'll notice that this is also a code chunk. We'll leave all that and not worry about it. Finally, RStudio has a lot of different capabilities, but to try to remain somewhat nimble, it doesn't load all of them in unless you ask it to, which means that we need to go and grab a package that is required for us. So down in this bottom right corner, you have the packages pane, and we are looking for a package called Pragma. I have two versions of it installed. All you need is one. So I just started searching Pragma in the top bar here. It came up immediately, right? Just after PRAC. And I got these two things. To bring this package into your RStudio, all we need to do is click that little checkbox. Easy enough. So with these three tasks done, building a markdown file, building a coding space, bringing in Pragma, we are ready to row reduce this matrix. So let's do it. I'm going to break that into two tasks. First, putting the matrix into RStudio so that it knows what I'm working with. And second, actually doing the row reduction. So I am going to build my matrix by saying I'm in the wrong space. There we go. Here we go. M equals. So what this does is it basically makes a bucket for RStudio to put a thing in. It says, I am defining a new thing called M. It says, great, what would you like M to be? And I'm going to tell it. I want it to be this matrix. So how do I put all those numbers in? Well, it depends on if you would like to read your rows or columns of the matrix. There are two different functions we can use, either rbind or cbind. So let's go ahead and use rbind, meaning I'm going to read these rows into the matrix. You'll notice some code kind of automatically popped up there. If that's helpful for you, you can use it. I don't find it super helpful. So it says, I'm going to bind some rows together. Well, what are your rows? Well, I look at that first one, and I'm going to start by building a list. So C is for concatenate, which basically means shove together. We're going to make a list of numbers. I'm going to start reading them in. 3, 4, 1, -3, 3, 0, 2. So what I have done is grabbed these numbers across the top row and placed them into this list. So that R bind meant I was going to look at rows. Next one. D. 1, 6, 1, -1, -1, 0, 1. Next row. 3, -1, 3, 1, -2, 2, 3. Last row. 7, 5, -1, 0, 0, 4, 2. So a couple of things. You'll notice that commas are what separates each entry in a row from the next entry in its row. And I used commas to separate each row from each other. So this comma separates a row from itself or from the next row. These separate the elements in the row. One other thing to notice is that I didn't feed into the matrix that this was a special augmented kind. That's something that we have to keep in our brains as we're working. So be a little careful. So here's my matrix, but RStudio doesn't know it yet. I basically have to kind of send it along its way, right? So I'm saying I would like M to be this thing, and I sort of commit it to RStudio's memory by running this green play button. There we go. Now, a couple of things have happened. You'll notice this code has populated in the console. Don't worry about that so much, just saying that it's code that has run. And I have this matrix over here. So this is a little bit kind of cut off for me, but what it says is that you have a new variable called M. It is 4 by 7, and here are its entries. If you'd actually like to take a look at it, you can pull up that little kind of like matrix panel, and you can look at it. But what if I had made a mistake? I'm not a great typer. Oh, look, that was totally on purpose that I had forgotten that -2 there. It really was. But let's suppose I had made a mistake in my numbers. Not a big deal. I'll put my -2 right there, and I will rerun it. Make sure you rerun so that it actually fixes your error. So it says, I would like to know what M is, and it says, yeah, right there. There's that -2, so it looks good. So you can basically run this code until it gets it right. So I've got my matrix M. I have put it into the computer and have it sitting in front of me. All I want to do is row reduce it. At least this part's easy. I just write RREF, and it says, great, what would you like to RREF? I would like to use M. Ta-da. Now, my window's a little bit small, so it breaks it off into like, different kinds of columns here. If I would like it to be a little bit like all on one thing, then I can do this. Now, these numbers are gross because I made my matrix gross. But what we are looking at is the row reduced echelon form version of this particular matrix. Remember, this last column is an augment. Just because we have an augment, it doesn't go away even though we don't have it as a line there. So it looks like I would have 1, 2, 3, 4 basic variables, 2 free ones, and no pivot in the augment. So it looks like this system would have a solution space of size 2, and we can start kind of churning up all of our stuff. So this is how you're going to want to row reduce a matrix. It's going to take some time to get good at, right? Typing out these matrices is non-trivial. We have to really kind of be careful and make sure that we have all of our commas and stuff in the right space. If you have an error, that's okay. But just kind of double check to see if all your code is in the correct spot. So our goals in this video were to just row reduce this matrix. Here's how we did it. We had to set ourselves up with a good space by adding a markdown file, the package for Pragma, and a coding chunk. Go back and check those if you need to. We typed our matrix in, and then we row reduced it. Once you have one of these kind of R markdown documents to be able to actually just type in, now if I wanted to say do another problem, I could just add another chunk. This can be really helpful. If you're working on maybe one web work assignment, you could have all of your questions in one space. So let's suppose I wanted to maybe take a new matrix, maybe I'll call it B, and I would like to say, all right, I'm going to do rbind C 1, 2, 3, C 4, 5, 6. And I said, great, show me that. It didn't print anything because we just have to ask it, say, what's B again? There we go. So you could kind of then put all of your work in the same space. But there's been our goals. Thanks for watching this video. We'll talk more about our RStudio on Wednesday. We'll see you then.